Okay, so finally I have run my app over here. So as you can see, it is showing nothing over here as there are no widgets in the main.dart. Now let's try to create the logic of our game first. So I had already shown the game, but if you want to see, I am putting the link in the description. So it is just a simple guessing number game, and it will be very similar to the uh, other number guessing game if you have played with. So all we need is that we need uh, to create a logic for the game. So first we'll create a file called game.dart. You can create it from file, new file over here, and save it as game.dart. Now you can put as many as classes you want. So I'm creating first class called game here, and inside that I'm going to declare some variables. So first uh, I'm creating one variable to keep the track of moves. So as you can see, we need to have some maximum moves in which you have to complete the cases. So we'll take first two constants. First is that the current the total moves in which you have to complete the game. So we'll keep the static. I will explain it. Let me first write it. I'll give it name total moves. Okay, I'll assign it value 10. We want to complete the game in maximum 10 moves. So user will have only 10 guesses for the game. So first we have given it a modifier called const. So const is a compile time constant. When it is used with the static modifier, it becomes a class level constant. So static is a class variable, and const declares a constants. You can assign it only at the time of declaring. So I have to assign it some value over here. So by that we are saying that this value is constant and never going to be changed, and also it has been shared with all the objects of that class. So it is a shared variable essentially. And the another variable we'll take is that uh, the current move. Okay, so this variable will keep track of current move, where we are currently. So as you can see, I have declared it with the underscore sign. The underscore sign shows the visibility. So the underscore is for private. If you don't put the underscore, it is public variable. You can access it outside of class, but when you put the private, it becomes a private variable. So in Dart there is no private modifier. As you can see, the name of the variable itself represents the visibility of the variable. So I'll keep this as integer. Then we'll declare another two constants which will be helpful for declaring the max and mean values. So we'll keep the max value as 100. You can guess from 1 to 100, so I will keep the max as 100 and I will keep the mean value as 10 sorry 1. So you can guess between 1 to 10. If the number given by user doesn't fit these values, then will show an error that your input is invalid and you should enter the another number, like that. Then another thing we'll need is that we'll need to have a randomly assigned number that is our guess, right? That is the number which is app is guessing. So we'll take the variable called I will keep the name as the guessed number, and I will mark it as a private. It can't be accessed by another classes. So this variable will show will have the random number that is generated for each game. Whenever the user input matches with this number, the result the user has succeeded to answer the right answer. So we'll generate this number inside our program and not give it to any another classes. Now let's create a constructor of this game class and initialize some variables. So the first thing is that we'll have the current move initialized to 0 whenever the new game is created. So constructor is used for initializing the game, initializing the object. So we'll keep the current move to 0 and then we'll keep the guessed number to some random number. So for each game the new random number is generated and assigned to this guessed number, right? So we'll use the random class from the Dart math package. So if you want to see, let's check the random class. So the random class is a part of Dart math package, as you can see here, and it has one constructor which does not require seed, but if you give a seed then it will take from that number. And so you can essentially create a random object and call the next integer. Inside the next integer you can pass our max value. So by that we will have the number between the 1 to 100. So we'll use the random class and we'll give seed 1 and next integer. So as you can see, it is showing error because I haven't imported yet. So let's import Dart math. Okay, now it shouldn't show any error. Okay, now next int is available. Then let's try next int with our max number. So it basically says that generate a random number of 200 and assign it to guessed number for each new game, right? So after doing this, we'll implement some functions uh, to to develop the logic for our game. So for each move, we are going to increment this current move and match the input with our number. If the number is same as our actual number, then we'll return some state to the UI that the number is correct and the output is success, right? So for that we are going to take one enum. We'll call it result. It represents the result of the game. We'll call it result, and inside this result we'll use some constants like correct, then higher, then lower. Then if the input is invalid, then we can say invalid input. In the case if user enters the number outside of our min max boundary. And then another thing we'll do is that if the number is same, the result will be correct. If the number is higher than the guess, the higher invalid output. And I think we'll need these 4 cases, not okay. What if our moves has been exceeded? So we have the limit of total moves to 10. So if the moves are completed and we cannot perform the next move, then we can give the result no move, right? We can do anything. I am just giving this name no moves over here. Okay, so now let's implement one function that will return this enum of result. So we'll have one function that is returning the result. So we'll have the result as return type, and we'll keep its name next move, and inside the next move it will receive the number as argument. So it will receive the user input as argument. So this number will be entered by user whenever he want to guess. So it will be received over here in the user input, and inside this function we will implement the logic of our game. So the first thing we need is that we shouldn't allow any number lower than this min and higher than this max, right? So we'll check for this input, that user input less than min or user input is greater than max. Then return the result dot invalid input, right? So we won't allow any number that is less than min or higher than max. And if that is the case, if user enters the 125, then we'll return the invalid input to indicate that the user has not given the correct input to check. The another thing we'll do is that we'll check for the moves. So first thing we'll take this current move and check if the current move is greater than the total moves, greater than or equal, sorry, not equal, greater than total moves. Then we'll return result dot no moves, but for that we need to increment the current move every time we perform the next move. So after checking this invalid input, we'll always increment this current move by 1. So every time whenever the next move is called, the current move will be incremented by 1 and assigned to the current move. And after that we'll check that if the next move is greater than the total moves defined here, then we'll say there are no moves left, your game is over, you have lost the game, right? So now let's implement the logic of the correction. So we are going to compare the user input with the guessed number. So we need to check if the user number is equal to the guessed number, then we'll just return the correct as an answer. So we'll check first that if the user input is equals to the guessed number, then we'll just return the correct as a result, and we'll say the user that you have won the game, the guessed number is as expected, and we'll complete the game. If not, then we will provide the user the hint that whether the number is higher or lower, right? So we'll give the hint to the user, and for that we'll have another if else. We'll say if user input is greater than guessed number, then we'll return result dot higher, else there is only one option left, which is result dot lower, right? So let's document everything. The first thing is to check the user input. So user input must be between the max and min numbers defined. So we'll check that whether user input is valid or not. So let's write that. Then we'll increment the current move and check if the moves are completed. So there, check if there is no move left, right? So we'll check with the total moves, and if there is no move left, then we'll just return result dot no moves. And then the actual part is compare the user input with the guessed number and provide the hint if not matched, right? If it is not same as our random number, then we'll provide the user the hint whether it's higher and lower. So as you can see, we have implemented the logic of this game now, and it will work as expected. But in the next part, uh, we'll use the Flutter framework and draw some components on the screen and actually test this logic to have an idea whether it works or not. And second thing we'll need is that, as you can see, there are many if else if else here. So we'll see if we can keep the minimum number of lines here and simplify the logic of this next move method. So we'll try to implement some simpler things that will cut the code in half or so. We'll see that in the next video. For now, goodbye and thanks. See you in the next video.